everyone. Thanks for listening to Wake Up, Look Up, a podcast where we connect events happening in real time to the gospel of Jesus Christ. I'm Zach Weihrauch. And in this episode, I'm telling you, don't stop shopping, which also means this is going to be my wife's favorite episode. Listen, this comes from an article that was in the New York Times this week about shopping trends during election season. And basically the point is this: we all feel more anxious about the election than we let on, or maybe even than we are aware. And one of the ways you know this is that subconsciously we stop spending money the way we normally spend money. And you see this almost entirely across the board of the economy, that in the weeks leading up to an election, buying and spending slow down, especially when it comes to significant purchases. And in fact, the more significant the purchase, the further out from an election we slow down. So for example, the real estate market in Miami, one of the fastest and most booming real estate markets in the country, in a non-election year is up about 10%. But in an election year, it's down almost 3%. That's a 13% drop. You see the same thing in Manhattan and in LA, across the country, east, west, south. We buy less cars, we buy less clothes, we go out to eat less. And the reason is because we're not sure the ground beneath us is secure. We have this deep and abiding belief that if the wrong person gets elected, we might be in trouble financially. Or maybe if the right person gets elected, maybe we'll be on better ground. So not only do we shop less, we also tend to save more, thinking that more cash in the bank will insulate us from the election going in the wrong direction, whatever that is for us. I say all that to say, if you're feeling anxious about the election, you're not alone. It's a countrywide thing. And maybe if you have been unwilling to admit that you're feeling anxious, it's okay to start admitting that and even paying attention to the way you're spending your money. And I guess I have two key biblical points in response to this. Now, they're going to sound paradoxical. The first is that you're not ever as secure as you think. Listen, the insecurity that we feel during an election season is really closer to the truth than we imagine, only not because of the election. There's no amount of money in the bank that will ultimately secure you against everything life can throw at you. A cancer diagnosis, a natural disaster, a divorce you weren't looking for and weren't ready for. Life can throw some pretty awful things your way, and cash in the bank ultimately isn't going to protect you. Either those things will be more expensive than you were prepared for, or the cost of those things will be measured in something other than money. Listen, the cure to anxiety isn't pretending it doesn't exist. It also isn't in attributing it to something like the election. The cure to anxiety, at least according to Jesus in the Gospel of Matthew, is to admit we aren't in control. We're powerless against the larger things that threaten us in this world, but God isn't. See, the cure to anxiety isn't making myself feel bigger by cash in the bank. It's by realizing how big God is and how much He loves me in Jesus. That's my hope for whatever life throws my way. But the second thing is this: the presidential candidate, and I know this is going to upset many of you on both sides, but you need to hear this. The presidential election is not fundamentally going to change your life. Listen, Republicans have been president. Democrats have been president. At the end of the day, the person most responsible for what's happening in your life is you. Listen, you should be keeping cash in the bank, and you should be making smart purchases. You should live on a budget. You should invest for the future. You should be generous, not because the right candidate or the wrong candidate's going to get elected, but because these are the things the Bible told us are wise with our money. Listen, if you're feeling anxious, maybe the way out of that is not just to look to God and Him being in control, but also to realize that the Republican or Democrat in the White House is not fundamentally going to affect your life. You are still the most important person on this planet for your life. Take responsibility, have a plan, be strategic, and know that even when your plan isn't good enough, God still loves you and God is in control. So listen, for the glory of God and as a cure for your own anxiety, go shopping. Hey, thanks so much for watching this video. While you're here, we'd love to ask you to hit subscribe or to like so you get future content. If you listen to the audio version too, make sure you leave a review and a comment. That really helps. Consider sharing it on social media and helping us get the word out. And hey, while you're here, check out all the other content that Christ Community Chapel is putting out, including the videos that are around me right now.